a touching and emotionally charged drama about betrayal, respect, family loyalty, and personal dignity. This story follows a widowed mother-in-law who slowly discovers that the place she once held within her family is no longer as secure as she believed. What begins as an ordinary family gathering soon reveals years of hidden tension, subtle exclusion, and carefully disguised manipulation. As the mother-in-law reflects on a series of painful moments, she begins connecting memories that once seemed unrelated. Missed invitations, forgotten celebrations, uncomfortable jokes, and quiet dismissals gradually form a pattern that becomes impossible to ignore. The daughter-in-law appears charming and thoughtful in front of others, yet her actions suggest a very different reality. Through small comments, carefully timed suggestions, and conversations about the future, she slowly encourages the idea that the older woman should step aside and make room for a new chapter that does not include the same level of influence, independence, or respect. For viewers who enjoy realistic family stories, this emotional journey explores the painful experience of realizing that people you love may no longer see you the way they once did. The story captures the loneliness that can emerge when aging parents begin feeling invisible within their own families, even after years of sacrifice and devotion. As the mother-in-law searches for answers, she uncovers important reminders of everything she and her late husband contributed throughout the years. Financial support, guidance, emotional encouragement, and countless acts of generosity helped build the life her family now enjoys. Yet somewhere along the way, gratitude began fading and assumptions started taking its place. The daughter-in-law becomes increasingly confident as conversations about retirement, downsizing, and future planning become more frequent. Each discussion appears harmless on the surface, but beneath the polite language lies a deeper effort to reshape the family dynamic. Unlike exaggerated drama, this story remains grounded in believable situations that many viewers may recognize from their own experiences. That realism is what makes these family stories so compelling and emotionally powerful. As new information comes to light, the mother-in-law discovers that her late husband anticipated challenges that might arise after his passing. Quietly and thoughtfully, he put safeguards in place to protect her independence and ensure that major decisions would always remain in her hands. These revelations provide strength, clarity, and confidence at a time when she needs them most. Rather than reacting with anger, she chooses patience. Rather than seeking revenge, she focuses on understanding the truth. The result is a deeply satisfying narrative built on emotional intelligence instead of conflict. Fans of meaningful family stories will appreciate the gradual development of the relationships and the believable motivations behind each character's actions. The son is not portrayed as cruel or malicious. Instead, he represents someone who slowly loses perspective and fails to recognize the consequences of his silence. His journey becomes just as important as the mother's because it highlights how neglect and inaction can damage relationships even when harm was never intended. Meanwhile, the daughter-in-law continues pushing her agenda until a pivotal family gathering changes everything. In a moment filled with tension and unexpected revelations, long-standing assumptions finally collide with reality. The truth emerges not through shouting or confrontation, but through preparation, wisdom, and the power of knowing one's worth. These are the kinds of family stories that resonate with audiences because they focus on emotional truth rather than spectacle. The most memorable moment arrives when the mother-in-law realizes she no longer needs anyone's approval to recognize her value. She understands that respect cannot be demanded, but it can be expected. She understands that love without respect eventually becomes fragile. Most importantly, she understands that protecting her dignity is not selfish, it is necessary. As the family begins confronting difficult truths, relationships are tested and perspectives begin to change. The daughter-in-law is forced to reconsider assumptions she once believed were certain, while the son finally starts seeing the situation through a different lens. Viewers who enjoy heartfelt family stories filled with life lessons, emotional growth, and realistic family dynamics will find this narrative especially rewarding. With themes of aging, family conflict, inheritance expectations, personal boundaries, and self-respect, this story offers an unforgettable exploration of what truly holds a family together. More than anything, It reminds us that the strongest family stories are not about property or possessions. They are about respect, gratitude, and remembering the people who helped build the life we often take for granted. Through resilience, wisdom, and quiet strength, the mother-in-law ultimately reclaims her voice and proves that true belonging comes from self-worth rather than permission from others, making this one of those family stories that stays with viewers long after the final moment.